Welcome to Tekedia Daily. I'm Ndubuisi Ekekwe. Conversation today will focus on the perils of cloning foreign startups in Africa. Of course, one of the biggest trends in the technology space is this construct that when you see a very successful business in America, Western Europe, you just come back to somewhere in Africa and begin to clone it. We have seen that across different technology categories is a good thing because they have invested to demonstrate, to validate a business model hypothesis. And why not you just take it and run for the money? There is also this assumption that markets are the same. American market, perhaps if it works there, it's going to work in Kenya, work in Nigeria. And of course, most of these companies are internet driven. And if it works there, oh, the same internet, it will work in our own country. And humans are the same. If Americans love it, oh, the Ghanaians will love it. But there is also a huge business model risk. This business model risk is based on the foundation of the way of living of the people. And because of the way of living of these people, it's just different from one part of the country to the other. When you clone that startup, there could be challenges. And I'm going to use a case study to demonstrate why there is an inherent risk associated with cloning some of these startups. Sometimes you are even failing before you even begin to build a startup. But however, there are very great companies I would say you should go and clone. You could clone companies that are working in the domains of tools and productivity, like Google, Facebook. But of course, there is also a risk there because these companies are category king, meaning that what are you going to do that Facebook cannot do at global scale? So you may not necessarily go to clone Facebook because it has already taken that domain. It's a king. Of course, you don't have to go and clone Google for search, but there are so many things Google does that you can carefully and technically build back home. They are building driverless cars. If you think that is a business, you may build one. I don't necessarily think that is a problem to be solved right now in Nigeria, for example. But there are so many things like in mobile that you could try to do. Those ones are not bad. There is also an advantage that you could clone something that I work in America locally because there are companies that depend on the regions where they operate, like for e-commerce. Just like what Konga Jumia did, you can do that. Of course, there are also challenges associated with building such companies in our local communities. I'm not necessarily going to spend time discussing them here as I've explained them extensively in different other web videocasts. One key thing is the issue of logistics. Why they have the US Postal Service for Amazon, we are not very lucky to have any that will help us move the goods as they are being paid online. Now, you can also clone businesses based on processes. Of course, you have the logistics company like ACE, African Courier Express. It could have been inspired by one company in America to do what it's doing. And there are just so many companies. You could also have companies working in medical area, companies working in agricultural space. So many areas you could clone. But if you look carefully, the structure of the economic system for these companies can easily not affect your success. But I'll explain why cloning some is actually a risk. I just give out Yelp. Yelp is a company, it's a public traded company in US that focuses on essentially providing reviews of local companies across American cities. In other words, you're looking for a mechanic, you're looking for a carpenter, you're looking for somebody that can repair your car. You go to Yelp, type, and just find somebody living around you doing the same thing. You have to check the review to make sure that that individual knows what he or she is doing. Yelp will work in America because it's a country of contracts. In other words, you go to a mechanic, and one of the first things most do is they ask you to sign that their hourly rate is maybe $50. So once you sign that, even if for any reason at the end of maybe 4 hours they can't find a solution to your car, you are still liable to pay for that because they have spent that hour working on your car. And so for you to commit to any specific mechanic, it means that you need to know the person actually knows what he or she is doing. That wins review becomes very critical. It's a formal system where it's not easy to find these guys, so you have to go online and look for them. So because you are paying for his time, you are actually have already committed that you have to spend money, irrespective of the outcome. And there is money to be lost if you are hiring the wrong person. So why this can flourish in America? Because of the economic structure here. In Nigeria, there is a problem. When you go for a mechanic, you don't sign any contract. You are paying for the service most times instead of the time. So if the guy spends a day and he can't fix the problem, you just tell him thank you. And most times he doesn't even expect you to give him anything. So you can essentially move that car to another person. Of course, you still need to have a good mechanic so that you don't waste your time. But it is not as the way in America, because at least the guy has spent and wasted his own time. You have not actually spent and wasted your own money. So the review is still critical, key, but not as consequential as in America, where you are committing to something largely irrespective of the outcome, because you have to pay the money, even the guy does not get it. Of course, if you're living in Lagos, there is always someone that knows a mechanic. There is always someone that knows an artisan. He knows a carpenter, he knows the guy that repairs broken doors, and you may not necessarily have to go online to find for that at this moment, but it's still a good idea, because as we continuously move our lives online, it may be something somebody have to do. But the fact is this: running a Yelp today, the kind of decision making people commit ahead on whom they have to hire, the level of risk is not the same as you find in in the United States. And that is why companies like Lyft, founded by the guys in Kunga also, may not have the same level of success as Yelp, because Lyft is essentially offering a service that people don't necessarily think offers a lot of savings, because you have the opportunity to review the job before you commit to pay. In America, you actually have committed to pay even before the outcome of the job. So yeah, we struggle in most parts of Sub-Saharan Africa. And I will tell you, don't waste your money building Yelp kind of version of solution, because the economic structure, the economic system may not really favor you. And there are so many other business areas, different categories in technology space that, owing to the different structures of the different economies within United States and Africa, even when you start it, you don't even have a chance because of the foundation upon which contracts, way of life, the way they live, actually makes us successful. You are listening to Tekedia Daily.